My mission here is to make a budget DIY fish room, and where else to do that but in my shed. I've already built a pond in here. You may have seen it on another video before, but I thought the first thing to do is to change the light. I found this in the discount section of B&Q, really cheap, this strip light. I'm hoping it lights up a bit more of the pond. I've taken out loads of rubbish from inside this shed, which hopefully I can store back in here, because I do need to use this as a shed as well. But I basically bought some racking systems. These are from Halfords, pretty cheap, maybe 30 quid a rack, and they're supposed to hold enough weight for a small tank on each shelf, which could be useful for the breeding. Now they've got quite flimsy shelves, it looks like, so I might have to replace those shelves with a bit of wood that's a bit stronger, but in terms of the metal, it's supposed to be strong enough. Now there we go, so first job done, got that up there, and the racking systems. Now, might have a rearrange of those racking systems, but the idea is, one side is going to be the big DIY pallet pond, and that's going to be for housing koi, and over on this side I'm going to have a couple of tanks set up. The tanks are going to be for when I breed the fish outside and bring them in. And then I can sort of gradually, as they get bigger, the fish, I can put them in the pallet pond. So small fry in the tanks, big fry in the pallet ponds. Got all my fish food ready to organise there. Some gel food from Lucky's Ranchu. Check him out if you haven't already. And yeah, I mean, I have to. There's somewhere I've got to store that roof box somewhere. So unfortunately, that's got to go in there. Now I have still got a bit of a problem here with the blanket weed outside. And when I say a bit of a problem, I don't know, this is probably the worst I've had it. You can see how absolutely full that is of blanket weed, and I'll show you underneath now. It's like a jungle under there. So I did, in the last video, try and treat this, and the video before. It seems to be over at one end more in particular. That seems where there's more movement. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it's like a jungle over this end. So you can see I've got to do something about that. That'll be an ongoing job, I think. It was absolutely freezing this day, so I was a bit of a wimp and I stuck a stick in there, which is probably a bad idea, seeing as I might pierce a hole in the liner. But it was about 9-10 o'clock at night, and I just managed to fish out some blanket weed. I mean, that is a big pile. I don't know, you can't really, it's hard to judge really. Can't really see it that clearly, but it is big. So this is the stuff I've been using. Aqua Source. It really has worked well in the past, but I'm going to try again with another dose, see what that does. But you know, this is something that, yeah, it's a bit off topic. We're talking about me building this shed here, this fish house, but this is something I need to sort out, so I thought I'd address this in each video as it hopefully improves. So there we go, we've got some more floating on the surface now. As I said before, it doesn't need to be diluted. This is after a couple of days, and I don't know if that's just the snails doing that, but it does look like something's happening. So I'm crossing my fingers, basically, for the future. We will see. But as you can see, there is a lot in there. So I didn't want to. I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, but the weight of that, you know, I'm picking out as much as I can manually. We'll just have to see how that goes. Decided to do water change, and as I did the water change, I just thought it was worth putting out as much as possible to try and get rid of this blanket weed. But you can also see that the fish, in my opinion, might have just been the change in water temperature from the filling up the pond. There was a little bit of chasing going on, just a little bit, and it is coming up to spring now when I've shot this video. So, and that is a female being chased. So I think we've got the start, and there's another female being chased there, the big female. So this could be the start of hopefully the breeding this season. So back inside the house, there's a fish house, I'm now calling it, or fish shed. We've got that filter running both ponds, and I've got this little racking system, found it on eBay. So a really nice little system with some trays, metal, so it's really, you know, going to hold the weight of that filter on top. Potentially a bigger filter that I might need in the future. And I've got all my bits and bobs in there, as well as a garden snail which has found its way in there, and that's okay, it always will. So move that into some into safety. But yeah, I'm running these little, I'm going to try and cycle these little filters. I've already got one cycling in the pond, and I want another little one for a smaller tank I've got, because I found this larger tank that you just see there on Facebook Marketplace. It's about 20 or 30 quid for that tank. I mean, you can find them for free sometimes, but that big one is going to be for the bigger filter I've already got cycling, and the small one, the small filter. I never drink bottled water. I went out and bought some so that I could potentially use these little caps, because I know that when I breed, I'm going to have to breed loads of hatch loads of brine shrimp. Now, those expensive Evian bottles did not work. They didn't fit the caps that I bought. So a little word of advice there, you just need some cheap Co-op bottles. And the idea is I'm going to hang these up and with some airline coming out, and that will basically keep the water moving inside, and I'll be able to hatch some eggs. So I've got a constant kind of supply of brine shrimp for when I actually do some breeding in this fish shed. So there we go, you can see I've got the small tank, the big tank, I've got that new bowl in the middle, the racking system with all my food on, and we've got the air pump that is going to, tiny little air pump. I bought it for £5. That's why this is definitely a budget fish room. And I'm just going to run that airline all the way up over the door, round over some random wood that I'm storing, and into each tank. I'm going to use the sponge filters that I've just put in the pond to cycle. When I need them, they'll be ready to go. So I thought I'd set up this kind of really simple airline system, which is basically all running off this one small £5 pump. You know, I may need something stronger than that in the future, but if it works, it works. So the idea is both bits of tubing will eventually go around there. I do need to order some parts to finish that off, and this little sponge filter will be perfect for the fry, so I need to get that cycling now. So I'll just pop that in there. It should take a week or so really for it to cycle, and that's plenty of time. I've got a lot longer than that before I think I'm going to have to really start using them in the breeding tanks. So I just need to wait for those to cycle, and they'll be using. So it's coming along nicely. You know, I've got a bit of space, and still need to fill up that wall with some OSB board that I've got. The airline tube basically runs over into each tank. It's a really simple fish room. When I say it's a fish room, it's my shed with a pond and some tanks in. But I'm going to continue to use this stuff. It has worked in the past before. I'm keep dosing it. This must be dose number 4 now. And I'm just hoping it starts to make a dent. If I have to change, then I will. Maybe increase water changes as well. But I did order an extra kind of, I got some advice from Gary Hayter, who's a top breeder in the USA, and he said that I need to, he said that he uses cheerleading pom-poms. Now, a bit random when my girlfriend realised that I'd ordered those, but they're supposed to be placed inside the tanks, and as the fish spawn, it will get the eggs attached to them, and then the eggs will become fertilised, so they can basically be trapped onto that cheerleading pom-pom. I bought green because it just seems a bit like a plant to me, but that's probably doesn't matter what colour they are. I've also got a little brine shrimp net. It's really used for brine shrimp, but I'm going to use it for the fry when I have to do culling on some fry. I also bought and this is all really cheap, that's why I say this is such a budget sort of fish room. I bought a rubber mat which I wanted to lay across the floor. The amount of water that I spill on this floor, I don't want to go through it. So just rolling that out. Luckily it kind of fit almost perfectly between the, not quite though, you can see that my pond is a bit wonky, but between the pond and the edge of the wall. So I've got this rubber matting now, which is going to help with any spillages. But that ended up looking alright. We've got, I did put a couple of staples in the end just to hold it down. That corner there, a bit rotted, you can see already. So we need to try and avoid that happening to the rest of the floor. But yeah, this should provide a bit more grip for me, and it just sort of finished off the room, made it look a little bit more like, I don't know, I was trying a little bit more. Spring is definitely coming now. I keep giving updates on the plants around the pond, and you can see the buds of the acer starting to come. The neighbour's cat is watching the pond, waiting for the fish, any opportunity. But yeah, so that's my budget fish room. I'm going to try breeding in there this year. If you fancy watching along, seeing what I do right, what I do wrong, you know, that's what it's all about. So I hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully see you soon. Bye.